All right, Alexander, let's answer the questions from the live stream we did with Tom Luongo. And let's start off with Valley S. Thank you for that super sticker. Cactus Ray, thank you for that super sticker. Far, thank you for that super chat. Ryan says, what's the best way to protect our money? I'm moving abroad to Tbilisi January 24th, so want to make sure it's financially feasible. Tom answered that.
Tom answered that, yeah.
Tom answered that, yeah. Tyler Durden said, is now the time to buy Chinese yuan, if you can?
Well, I think he answered that as well. He said that for the moment, stick with dollars. That was his view.
Not financial advice, by the way.
No.
Not financial advice.
Well,
Last stand
certainly not. I mean, we do not give financial advice on the Duran. Just to make that very clear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last Stand Truth says lunch money. Better on a Camel says the big Fint-Wint argument is whether the discount window and BTFP program are equivalent to QE or if it actually results in stricter lending practices, i.e. QT. What is Tom's opinion? Tom answered that.
I think he answered that, yeah, absolutely,
yeah. Jornil Udinson says, this convo feels like a weight lifted off my chest. Finally, it all makes sense. Thank you for that. And Elza says, thanks. You are the best. Thank you, Elza. Katrosper says, thanks for these conversations. Elza says, is Russia still in risk of a banking crisis, even being cut off from SWIFT?
Well, I just repeat the point I've made on several places now. There have been bank failures over the last year. We've seen them in Switzerland. We've seen them in the United States. There's been none in Russia. No sign of any banking crisis there. Of course, none of the big banks, the big Russian banks, which are publicly owned, have had experienced significant runs. But perhaps most importantly, none of the dozens of small private Russian banks has failed either. So I don't see any sign of a bank crisis in Russia.
Alien Guru says there is nothing you can do to change everything. Thank you for that.
That's true.
Tish M says Bitcoin fixes this.
Tom answered that as well.
Tom answered that, yeah.
Yeah.
Elena Diaz says, what does it take for the euro to break?
Well, I think Tom's program was on that very topic. I mean, eventually, and I think his view is that with rising interest rates, with all these growing problems within the EU, the cracks will become impossible to fill, and there will be a general crisis in the euro, and we'll be seeing probably a bond crisis before long, a general bond crisis, sovereign bond crisis, and eventually countries will be forced to reintroduce their own currencies. But I think it'll take a long time, a while before that happens, given the political investment now in this project.
Alien Guru says money was created to control humanity. Simple.
Well, it has a long history going all the way back to the Lydians in the 7th century BC, by the way, money. So maybe it does control humanity to a great extent, but it's had its uses as well.
DK, thank you for that super sticker. Ricardo Alfonso says, need a weekly show with Mr. Luongo. Tish M says, Bitcoin and crypto are very different. How about an interview with Max Kaiser or El Salvador's president, Bukele, who introduced the Bitcoin law?
It's a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Tish M says, hey, Tom, I need to get into Bitcoin now. Thank you for that. Lana A. Zenkova Garcia says, thank you, Duran. Thank you for that, Lana. Elena Diaz says, all of Europe don't use euro. How will it affect or divide or change the European Union?
If the euro collapses, we will see a completely different system. I mean, I say straightforward, if the euro collapses, the EU goes. I mean, it's now so interconnected The two are so interconnected with each other that without the euro, with the eurozone collapsed, the whole structure will collapse, and we'll be in a completely different world. And I think once the turbulence is overcome, which it will be, a much better one.
Luba Kingsbury, thank you for that super chat. Sparky says, terrific and insightful take by Tom. Thanks. Utis4321 says, taking your claims as true, why doesn't or didn't Europe side with Russia? Seems like they complement each other economically and would be an economic superpower.
Well, I think Tom answered that at some length, actually. I mean, the realities were that if you look at the EU and the EU leadership and the leadership of the various, member states, the key member states, they are globalists, Atlanticists to the core. It might have made economic sense for them to work with the Russians, but they weren't going to do that because it goes completely contrary to their ideological beliefs and their visceral feelings.
Once, from Elena Diaz, once it was very normal in Europe with economic refugees from neighboring countries, example, Finland to Sweden. Can we expect that again from Euro to no Euro countries?
Possibly. Let's wait. Let's wait and see. It'll be a period of turbulence, but, I'm not going to anticipate an answer to a question like that when, as I said, this is such a difficult thing to read.
Ladislav Henel says, question, any chance new emerging and growing Eurasian bloc BRICS will insist on all countries, including their running department, when ranking financial and economic strength, and then which countries win?
Well, that's a very good question. It's an excellent question, actually. I think they will start rating countries. They will put their own ratings. They will put all kinds of things like that. Again, I'm not going to anticipate how those ratings will work and what they will do. But if you're going to create a completely new economic and financial architecture and trading architecture, then you're going to operate structures which may not be identical to those we've already known, but which will have some points of congruence with them. And, we'll just have to see how it shapes out.
From Electric Beaver, what does all this mean to the U.S. working class?
Well, I think that, I think Tom actually answered that. I think, I'm going to say something actually, I think the working class will come out better from this. It's the middle class people you need to worry about.
Sparky says developing countries increased.
Yeah.
Sparky says developing countries increased the need for petrodollars over the last 30 years, kept inflation down, enabling sustained quantitative easing then. Very true.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. Mm-hmm.
Lorraine Allmark, thank you for that super sticker. That girl Casey says, not so long ago, I was living almost carefree. After 2020, I realized I had to know about everything. Almost sounds depressing, but it's not, because God guides me to resources like this channel.
Thank you very much for those very kind words. Yes, it's always better to know about things and to live aware of what's going on than I think not to, however difficult information is.
Electric Beaver asks, within 5 years or longer?
I can't answer that.
Could collapse
I don't think
the
even
euro,
Tom.
I think.
Yes,
yeah.
I can't answer that. I don't think even Tom can.
Yeah, Tom tried to. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom tried to answer it. He didn't come up with a prediction. Alex K says, how soon will the big blow from this crisis occur?
Well, I'm going to say I think we will be in recession this year at some point, but how severe that recession is going to be and how it's going to work out, I don't know.
Abby123 says, can individual European countries side with Russia?
You see, only one country, which is Hungary, trying to maintain an independent line. I think for that to change, there would have to be a much bigger political crisis within at least some of the European states and some of the key European states. And, well, that may happen. It might happen in France, for example, or conceivably in Italy. But one has to say it, for the moment, the line is holding. So, it's not impossible, but it's not where we are at the moment.
Lada Murrow says, do you think that BRICS will come with one common reserve currency or rather use multiple national currencies or switch to Bitcoins?
Well, again, I don't know what they're going to do, but I think that the immediate plan is to use a mix of currencies, with the RMB, the Chinese RMB, playing the biggest role. But I think eventually the ultimate plan is to set up a specific reserve currency operated by the BRICS financial institutions. So that's some way off.
Breaking Bread says, it tips off as the UN falls and is restructured.
Yeah.
From Davo, Mexico applied to join the BRICS. How will it affect the dollar?
Mm-hmm. I think it's another chip in weakening the dollar. I mean, Mexico is a big country and it's a major trade partner of the US, and major big US companies have investments in Mexico. If Mexico joins the BRICS and eventually adopts a BRICS reserve currency, then, well, what do all those big American companies with all those investments do? That's some way down the road, though.
Cross-eyed Sniper says, can the currency of Hungary survive a possible collapse of the Eurozone or even the EU itself despite high inflationary environment and strong economic ties to the West, or will it be buried under?
No, I think it will. I think it will not only survive, I think it will strengthen. I think if we see a collapse of the euro, then we will see all these other currencies, the remaining currencies that are outside the euro, they will strengthen. I think Tom thought the same.
Yeah, he did. Bill Rose says, the Duran has been my go-to channel for geopolitics for a good 6 months now. Here is a long overdue gift.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bill, for that. Katrosper says, Congress is addicted to deficit spending, essentially money printing and inflationary. Does Powell have the guts to stay the course, even under immense political pressure?
Well, I think Tom discussed both that question and, of course, it was ultimately the underlying issue that he was talking about throughout the whole program. I mean, we'll see.
From Lada Moro, unfortunately for the West, there is no second Nabulina in the world.
No, there isn't. That's absolutely true. I'm not, by the way, I have made criticisms of Nabulina in the past. But again, I want to say this, 2022 was her finest hour. She did everything right. She rose to the challenge magnificently.
Yeah, she did. Abby123 says, where can I buy Maria Zakharova merch?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
Good question.
Good question, yeah.
And finally, Tish M says, my financial sovereignty won't be put into the greedy hands that are screwing up the system. Cheering for the Fed. Really, never. Team Self is to be a Bitcoin maxi now while it's still affordable.
Yeah, I know there'll be many people who think as you. And Tom, he always said he doesn't consider the Fed, he's not trying to pretend that the Fed are good people. He's just explaining why he thinks that they've taken the line that they have. And, he sees this as a conflict between the Fed and the Europeans, and he may very well be right. But he's not saying that the Fed is a good institution or that it's something that, you should root for necessarily. So just making that observation.
All right, those were all the questions from our live stream with Tom Luongo. Thank you very much, everybody.